Welcome to today's workshop. We're going to be discussing Zoom Essentials. So this is the Zoom Essentials workshop. My name is Patrick Henry. I'm the Academic Support Writing Coach at the Wolfson campus. And I'm going to be going over, I see Gabriel Gonzalez is also an instructional assistant who helped out with the content of this presentation. He's not here to give it today, but so you'll have to just bear with me as we go through some of the skills that you'll need to be successful using Zoom. Okay, we're going to talk about a few things today. One of them is how to sign into Zoom. Another is how to communicate within Zoom, and then using some of the audio-visual features, transcript features, whiteboard, and other features within the Zoom software. You can be successful in your course. All right, signing into Zoom. So there's a few ways to sign into Zoom. I'm going to show you examples of all three of them. So the first is we're going to talk about through Blackboard, through your course links. If you've been emailed a link, through a link that you've been emailed, and then also with the meeting ID and passcode if you have the Zoom app downloaded on your computer or through the web browser. So we'll go through all three of those ways quickly. So the first way is once you log into your course, you'll see something like this in your course on the home page. You might see an announcement from your professor. It might be in one of these areas here on the left-hand side. I've got an announcement here. It says, welcome to class. You're welcome to class. To join the class live, please log into the following Zoom link, and then the link would be right here. You also may be emailed a link, and you see an email here with the class link. So that is another way your professor may communicate the link. Or there is something called a meeting ID and login information. If they have that, they may send you that instead of a direct link. So look for those three ways to get in. So we'll click on the link because that's most common how you'll be entering into Zoom. You click on the link. It may ask you, there's a little message up here, open Zoom meetings. If you have not downloaded the app to your computer, it will ask you to install it. If the Zoom client is not installed, it'll automatically ask, and you as a best practice, you might want to download that onto your machine. And then you open the Zoom meeting. You also may just launch the meeting. Launching the meeting here from the browser will give you limited functionality within Zoom. So I suggest opening up Zoom meetings from the app. So we're going to do that. We're going to launch the meeting. Takes a few seconds to do that. As it comes up, I'll take a pause. Okay, so our Zoom meeting is up. I am the only one in this Zoom meeting, so you'll see the ability to unmute yourself. So I have, when I set this meeting up, and I'll go over a few of the settings that I used to set the meeting up. Here is the screen where I would do that. For those who have the ability, the website address to log into Zoom is www.mdc.edu/Zoom. And you log in, it utilizes single sign-on, and you'll come up to this this screen. There'll be a couple of different things. You can, it says attend a meeting, schedule a meeting, or my meetings. And so here are my upcoming meetings. This is the Zoom Essential meeting. It's currently live, so it's got the option to join or end the meeting. And how I set this up, there's a few things to look at. For the security, there are 3 options: passcode, waiting room, or require authentication to join. I've chosen this option, waiting room. Waiting room gives me the ability to, as the meeting host, to let people enter at my own pace. I do have a meeting ID here, but I've used the direct link for folks, not requiring a passcode to join the meeting, but you will be in the waiting room until I, as the meeting host, allow you to enter. So it gives the meeting host a little bit of control. I've also had the video off and the participant video off as they enter the room. It gives the ability of participants and the host to have that off. You can also switch that to on, so as somebody enters, it'll automatically be on. I also have the option to mute participants upon entry, or I could uncheck that and allow the participant to come in with a microphone on. Allow participants to join anytime is off. Again, I have that waiting room feature turned on. And then we've got a couple of other settings down here as well. And those are the settings for creating a meeting. You can also save this as a template for future meetings if you'd like to. Also the ability to add to Google Calendar, Outlook, and Yahoo Calendars. And then that's the essential information for setting up a meeting. So again, once you've launched the meeting by using the app, you now are in the Zoom meeting. There's a few controls down here that we'll go over. There is the unmute button, start video button. Again, if this was a live meeting, now I have my microphone turned on and I have the ability to speak to those participants in this Zoom meeting. I also have the option to share my video. The video will not work right now because I do have the video that I'm using to record this presentation, and so as you can see up here, I cannot start the video. But this is where you would start the video for Zoom. To go over some of these audio settings, this is the next opportunity to review some of these things, these settings. General settings, here you can change the reaction skin tone to whatever you'd like out of those choices. There's a remind feature here to remind 5 minutes before any upcoming meetings. If you've accepted a meeting invoice or if you've scheduled a meeting, it's a handy reminder that you have something coming up. There's some advanced features here like dual monitors, enter full screen automatically when starting or joining a meeting, automatically copy invite link once the meeting starts. And so these are some things that you can use under the general settings. We're not going to focus too much on that. This is something that you might want to look at what fits best for your particular meeting in the future or one that you're attending. Video settings. Video settings are very important. Again, the ability to choose a front camera or a rear camera, depending on your particular machine. Of course, my front camera's not working. I'm already using the camera for something else. In fact, I'm going to turn off my camera. If it gives me the ability to do that, I'm not sure. I don't believe it does. So anyway, the camera has a few settings. It's got mirror my video, touch up my appearance, adjust for low light. Anytime you are using a background that has a logo, you may want to consider playing around with a mirror my video. Sometimes if it shows on your background shows the correct way on your screen, it could be backwards to the viewer. So just pay attention to this particular mirror my video option. It's very helpful. Always display participant name on their videos. Again, these are settings for you to click or unclick. If I turn this off, my name would go away once I get out of the settings. Turn my video off when joining a meeting. These are individual settings that you can set before you even log in. You're gonna get the opportunity to adjust these settings before you even log into the meeting. So just be aware of that. For audio settings, again, the ability to test out a speaker. You'll hear a noise, so you can adjust the volume here. You also have the ability to test the mic. If you do not see this bar moving, you should be able to have some options down here. This is your first indication that people you're interacting with in the Zoom meeting can hear you or cannot hear you. So again, check these settings before you enter the meeting. You'll have that ability once you click on that direct link. It'll ask to check your settings, and I would highly encourage you to do so. Some other suppressed background noise. Again, auto is the setting on there, and that usually works for most things. If you are in an area with loud noise, you may want to consider this high suppressed background setting, and that'll mute. So if you're working in an area with a lot of coworkers and they're on the phone, then you may want to select that particular setting. Ringtone, all of these things, again, these are all defaults. For advanced, you can go and look for advanced audio tones and echo cancellation. These are advanced settings, and so you may want to read up more about what that has to do with your particular need in your meeting. So look for that. Another one of our settings is the share screen setting. And so when you're sharing the screen, and we'll go through how to do that a little bit later in the workshop, but here are some of the modes: full screen mode, maximize window, and maintain current size, and then scale to fit. I think the scale to fit is very important because what you're sharing, you want to make sure that those who are viewing the content are able to see it within their screen. So scaling is very important. Either sharing individual windows or sharing all windows from an application. These are some of the settings that you can use later. When I share my screen in a meeting, I automatically share desktop or show all sharing options. And I would have show all sharing options. You don't want to have something on your desktop that you don't want to unintentionally share with the group. So I would just have this linked as show all sharing options, and it gives you the ability to do so before you share the content. It's very important. When I share directly to a Zoom room, automatically share desktop. These Zoom rooms, again, these are the breakout rooms. So I would select show all sharing options before I do that. Again, the default setting was automatically share within the Zoom room. I would select that to all sharing options. It gives you the ability to do that beforehand. There are some advanced features. We're not going to really go into those at this moment, but you can check those out on your own. For background and filters, there are filters that you can use. Again, it's not showing it for me right now because I'm already using my video, but this is just no filter at all. It's just whatever's in your background, and it shares your video. You can use the blur, so depending on where you're running the meeting from or where you're sharing your video from, you may want to consider the blur filter background. There's also other filters here. These are disabled at this point, but you can set that up in the meeting settings if you're the host. You can also add images. as well. And so there's a particular one that I use that is the logo for MDC Wolfson campus that I use as a background. And again, for me to be able to share that, I hit mirror my video and mirror my image just so the image doesn't come out backwards. There's some studio effects. Again, these are advanced settings, and I encourage you to take a look at that on your own. Another setting here is recording. This is just going to be the path where all of my recordings, if I press record for this particular video, this is where I'm going to be able to look at the downloaded file once it's done. I have it set at this folder at all times. If I wanted to choose something after the recording was done, I would click on this. And then here are some other settings: timestamp, keep temporary recording files, and so on and so forth. There are some stats. Again, how much memory you're using overall for audio, video, screen sharing. The bandwidth, very important. So I'm on a Wi-Fi network, so bandwidth would be important. The connection that I have and these things. You don't have to worry about this too much. If you are having some issues connecting, then pay attention to this a little bit more, but I'm all within the sufficient ranges to give this presentation today. Also feedback. This is feedback, of course, to Zoom company. Keyboard shortcuts, you can set this up. I just have all the default things here. And then accessibility. Now I'm going to go over the accessibility because there are closed captions here. So closed captions are currently set to this size. I can increase the captions for that. And I'll show you when I go to the live transcripts feature what that looks like, so you can see that. Okay. And then screen reader alerts. This is going to alert you if there's any kind of chat. Somebody who's joined, somebody has left, and then if the audio is muted, and all of these different things you can enable these. They're already enabled, so I can see I can get messages as the host when people are joining or leaving, and all of those things to help me keep atop of who the attendees are in this particular Zoom meeting. Okay, so this is the settings feature. Okay, so we're going to go into some of the features of Zoom now. We're going to talk about polls. So I had set up a poll. When I set up the particular meeting, there's an option when I set up the meeting to create a poll. And you can easily, there's a couple of different types of questions. There's single choice questions or multiple choice questions, and so I have a few here. Once I'm ready to share a poll as the host, I just would click on the poll, and the poll that I created for the meeting was a couple of questions. The first, have you ever used Zoom before? Right, so yes would be my answer. I don't have the ability to do that. Actually, I haven't launched it yet, so I will launch the poll now. And so this gives, now as a meeting host, I don't have the ability to answer these questions. The participants, once I launch this, then you would have a pop-up on your screen as a participant, and these questions would be answered, and you can see live polls, the live polling here once participants are answering those questions. Second question I had was a multiple choice. What do you want to know more about? Audio controls, video controls, and this had the ability for participants to choose multiple answers or options in this. When you're done with the poll, it would be end the poll. You would see again all the statistics for the poll, and then you can easily share results with the participants. Okay. When you're done sharing, you move on, then it's stop sharing, and you can close the poll. The chat feature in Zoom is pretty self-explanatory. It is one of these basic functions in all different type of teleconference softwares that we've used, like Blackboard Collaborate and Microsoft Teams. For here, there's a couple of nuances, and that's the to everyone in the meeting, or you can send a chat to a particular person. You've got emojis. You can also send out. You can also have a setting here as a host. Participants can chat only with the host or co-host, or with no one. You can just turn off chat at all, and that's going to be located just down here with these three bubbles here. So those are three things. Right now, the chat is open to everybody. Anybody can chat anybody else, and so using the chat is a very valuable feature in Zoom. Okay. And so, a lot of folks utilize this, both students and faculty, and so this is, a very, very important option. But there are some controls down here that you can utilize under the more setting down here. Sharing screen is the next feature. So again, I have selected the ability to, instead of automatically sharing my desktop, to start with options. And I have a few different options. I can share screen, whiteboard, iPhone, iPad, or particular applications that I have opened up on my computer right now. So I've got a few applications on right now. I've got the Camtasia. I've got a few windows of Camtasia, which is the video editing software I'm using right now. I've also got Google Chrome that I'm using as a web browser, and then I have Microsoft Teams opened up. So I can share those particular applications with you at the moment. Another sharing feature is the whiteboard. So we'll talk a little bit about the whiteboard. The whiteboard gives you the ability to have those in the meeting share with you information using these particular features. And I'll move this a little bit out of the way. You can utilize it with text boxes and have folks in a brainstorming session, if I can spell that correctly. Brainstorming session, give their ideas in the group. You have the ability to clear all the drawings. You have the ability just to clear your drawings or clear the viewer's drawings. So now, who can see you share here? So everyone in the meeting can save things that you share here. Okay, so that's the setting that I have set up in the meeting. Okay, you also have the ability, whatever information that you do here in the whiteboard, is to save the information and save it as a PDF, and you can show that where you saved it in the folder, which I think is very helpful. And so those are great from brainstorming sessions. You can see exactly where this is saved. So I've got under Documents, Zoom, under my Zoom folder on my PC, and today's data, the Zoom Essentials meeting, I've got the whiteboard saved here. Okay, so you can always refer back to those files. I'm going to stop sharing the whiteboard. Okay, I'm going to show the other option. There's some other options: iPhone, iPad. You can save it. You can share whatever's on your phone with that feature. If I start to share that, it's going to ask me to connect. Plugin is required to share that, so make sure that you install that. I do not have that installed, so I will not go about doing that, but that is also an option as well. There's some other share features. You can share a PowerPoint as a virtual background, content from a second camera. So again, these are some plugins that you can use, a portion of your screen, a video that you have downloaded as a file, or just share files. Now, sharing the files doesn't necessarily go through your computer. It goes through these particular cloud services. You know, the one that we probably will use the most is the Microsoft OneDrive, as we all have access to that with our Office 365 subscription. So you want to make sure that any file that you're going to share is in your Microsoft OneDrive and it's not sitting on your desktop. So that's just a rule of thumb there, and for you to remember. The other feature I'd like to share is reactions. Reactions are particular if you're a participant in the meeting. Also, if you're the professor or faculty teaching this, you want to encourage students to use this, right? So encourage students, hey, when you're ready, or if you have a question, please raise your hand. That'll indicate to the host, and you can see my hand is raised here. It'll indicate to the host that you have a question. You can also lower someone's hand, or you lower your own hand. Indicating for the students, hey, please let me know if you agree or if it's a yes or no answer. Having yes or no. Slow down, please, or speed up, or I'm away, right? So if somebody has to step away from a meeting, or if it's a class, encourage them to use that. There's also clapping, liking features, all these emojis, laughing out loud, and some other things that students can use. And I would encourage everyone to be as interactive as possible in those cases. So those are the reactions functionality within Zoom. One more very important feature is something called record. You can record to the cloud. Right now, this session is being recorded, and once I stop the recording, yes, I want to stop the recording, and that'll go to that same folder that the whiteboard information was saved. The same folder. Live transcript also, as you see, we increase the text of the live transcript. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to enable auto transcripts. Okay. So now participants will see on the bottom, it only works as clearly as the speaker is speaking. This feature is very important for those participants who are viewing the meeting or the class in a place where they're not able to interact with the audio. They can follow along with the speaker and with those presenting content through this live transcript feature. This is also ADA compliant, and so this will help with those with disabilities. They have now the option of going through and following along with the content if they have any auditory issues with hearing what the speaker is saying. So this is very, very important feature. For right now, I'm going to disable auto transcript. So that should be off now, and you won't be able to see that. So those are some of the key features we wanted to touch on today. Another key feature is breakout rooms. So setting up breakout rooms is pretty easy. You can either automatically sign or sign manually. I don't have the ability to sign manually or automatically right now because I don't have any participants in there. I have been to meetings where we let the participants choose. So, creating the breakout rooms, if I go to create this, I do have, before I say open up all rooms, I do have the ability to create a room. This is really key because, APA workshop, if we have multiple events happening at the same time, MLA workshop, thesis statement workshop, and we're renaming this one to Chicago style workshop. Okay, so I've got these 3 breakout rooms happening with 3 different four breakout rooms happening at the same time with 4 different presenters. And if I open up all the rooms and I've selected the option, again, the option to allow participants to choose a room, now I'm allowing a large group of students or participants to go into the one that they find most beneficial to them. And if I open up all rooms, there'll be this message, and participants would join any of the rooms. Okay. I also have the ability to broadcast a message to everyone in every single room. Hello, everyone. We will be ending these sessions in 5 minutes, and all participants will be back in the main room. Okay, so then you could broadcast that message to everyone in the in those breakout rooms, and they'll get that message. Once you close all rooms, you can see this message up here. All participants have been given 60 seconds to leave their breakout rooms. Okay, and so then they will join us back in this main room at that 60-second mark. So there is a buffer of 60 seconds. Just remember that when you're ending a breakout room. And then the last option down here is support. The support is more for a Zoom representative to get a hold of you. We don't really need to use that right now, but if you needed to, it does have that support feature available for you to use. So those are the main things I wanted to share with you today. We'll go back to, I'm going to be ending the meeting for all. I'll go back to my PowerPoint presentation just to make sure that we hit all the key features. I believe we have, where we talked about video, audio controls, breakout rooms, live transcripts, and I'll display my my contact information. As you can see, my computer is a little bit slow. Again, any questions, please let me know. I'm going to put my contact information up here just one more time. If you have any questions you'd like to reach out, my name again is Patrick Henry, Academic Support Writing Coach at the Wolfson campus, and that is my contact information. Be happy to help out if you have an upcoming meeting, if you're a student that needs to join a meeting, if you're a faculty that needs to host a meeting, please let me know. I can walk you through some of the steps and features. Thank you, and have a great day.